All right,
Good
how
to
you
go.
feeling?
Good. Look at, oh shit. It's
Oh,
getting worse.
what happened,
I
bro?
don't know. It was funny. Last time I was driving to the studio, I'm like driving, my elbow started getting cold. And I'm like, why is my elbow cold? I'm in a sweater. And I looked, it's all coming apart. This sweater's like, cardigan's like 40, 50 years old. It was from my dad. So I got to get it all.
Damn!
I got to get it fixed.
Oh my God.
Right?
Well, if you want to learn more about cardigans, you're in. This is the podcast for you. No, just play. We got a special guest. I told y'all we were gonna bring on some guests, and I'm so excited. We actually have a whole bunch of guests coming over the next couple of weeks. Eric Kane is here to set it off. Actually,
Hello.
super fun. So we're here with the very talented, very tall Eric Kane. So we'll get right into it. This is A Moment with Jay.
I just wanted to hop on the mic and say, I know the world been a little chaotic and everything. I just wanted to check and make sure everything good in the hood, like sure, you know what I mean? Say out of the fam. Okay, let's get to work.
All right, bro. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you for having
So
me.
what'd
It's
you
been
like?
a long time coming.
It has, bro.
Long time in the making. It's been it's been good. I'm excited. Excited to get into it.
Me too, Matt. We always have a lot of great talks. Me and you, we're into the same things.
We are
Yeah,
very like-minded.
Very like-minded.
Yeah, it's
very
good.
like-minded. I even remember the first time you came over. That was like we talked for so long. We were like, this could have been a podcast.
It was like,
right
yeah,
here.
why didn't we just record that, right? It was, I mean, hopefully we can replicate that in podcast form.
Oh.
But
Sure we will. So let's get into it, bro. Let's how you been? How you been lately? It's been a minute.
it's been a minute. I've been really good. I've been really busy. I've been obviously on the musical grind as always.
Right.
And just really navigating the world right now, I think, as we all are. It's been a crazy few years coming out of it, but I think just working on new music, working on myself as always.
Cool.
I just got back from Vancouver. I was recording a song with Ryan Stewart.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Yeah, he's got quite the good reputation.
Yeah.
And so I actually did, not really supposed to talk about it, but recorded a song with him, and it's pretty excited about it.
Oh,
yeah, pretty
sick,
stoked.
bro. That's always the best, having stuff in the bag like that.
Yeah, it's it totally is. It's a good feeling. And then I'm back in Edmonton area here working with Conch, OK Conch,
Cool.
as well, and recording just working on the new EP.
So that's what's coming out as an EP.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh, okay. I also know that feeling too.
Yeah. So lots in the works, and then on top of it, I couldn't just sit while I was working on this EP. So I as you know, May 3rd kicks off the Open Road Tour.
Woo!
And kicks off May 3rd, Spruce Grove Horizon Stage, and then I go all the way to Vancouver and back. We're actually going to be bringing JusJrdn on to the stage to do the Slow Down remix that we did together.
Yes.
And lots in the works.
Very
so
cool.
I'm busy,
bro.
busy.
I see you. There's something I wanted to show you right out the gates, bro. It was this guy. For those of y'all who don't know Eric Kane, I'm a fan first. You know, I knew Eric before I met you. You know, I knew your music before I met you.
That's cool.
And I also didn't realize you. I always will bring up. It's only because we got videos together. So much taller than I am. But I remember I was like, oh shit! I didn't think you were this tall in real life.
Yeah, I am actually that tall in real life. 6'4", just under.
That is hilarious. But one thing I always, your hustle in the music game is top tier. You know, it's like I'm sure
I appreciate that.
You know quite a few musicians. I know quite a few musicians. Obviously, we're musicians.
Yeah.
And you're always out grinding. You know, you're doing something You're doing shows, you're promoting music, you're making content. You know, you really are, and you're doing it mostly by yourself. You know, I because I know you now, and I know you also work. You know, sometimes you're doing band shows, but I'm sure you're the one putting those shows together. And
Yeah, for the most part, it's you know, there's been a few years where I've worked with people and teams, but either way, I'm still head down doing it. So
and that's I think what a lot of people don't understand about the music hustle too. Even some of these artists that get signed to labels and have even bigger teams, you're still doing most of the work yourself.
yeah,
You know?
there's so much work, man, and you don't really exactly that unless you're in the trenches. You don't understand it,
Yeah.
and it's just every single day.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I love doing it. Sometimes it's obviously very exhausting, but it's great to see other people seeing the work that I'm putting in, because to be completely honest, a lot of the time I'm like, I need to be doing more. I could be doing more. I know I could be doing more, but that's just life. That is
of course,
the imposter syndrome kicks in here and there, and you gotta navigate. But
100%, and that's this. I knew we were gonna have a conversation. This is great. And why I even bring that all up is this is one of my favorite things when somebody sees like a homie of mine performing and is like, isn't this your homie? And I was like, yeah. So during the summer you did a show, and my homie Dean Guido messaged me. He's like, yo, wait, didn't you just do a song with this guy? And he sent me this video of
JusJrdn. And,
awesome. I recall this actually.
he let me freaking hold on here. He's like, he messaged me and he's like, oh, wrong one. There it is. And he's just like, yo, isn't this your dude, bro? And I was like, hey.
Artist called JusJrdn. And he's a hip-hop artist based out of Edmonton. And he's got this really cool acoustic hip-hop feel-good vibe. So here it is, Slow Down.
It's funny, I've never seen this video. This is from your buddy,
This is from my homie.
and it's sent to you.
Yeah, he sent it to me. He literally, like minutes after you played this,
Well,
song,
that's so cool.
he sent me photos. He's like, me and my homies loved it.
That's
Yeah, my mind's been racing, choose lace and be pacing. I'm sticking on it.
So this video is actually from one of the first shows I played on my fall tour last year.
Oh,
It was technically a private show out in Alberta Beach, Alberta.
word.
And a friend that had just moved out there kind of organized it with their street where I guess your friend lives.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was actually one of the first kind of kickoff shows for that Western Canada tour I did last fall.
No way, bro.
Pretty cool to see and reminisce about that now.
What a small, and then again, that's what I'm talking about with the hustle. This guy's right on another tour, and this is a video sent from his last. Was that your last tour?
So yeah, last tour in fall of 2023.
Damn. Oh,
So, yeah,
this guy's hustling. This guy hustling. That's what I'm saying.
Thanks, man.
And so I was things like this, bro. I love that people are like, yo, didn't you do a song? Well, obviously you say my name in the
Yeah.
So he's like, wait, I know that fucking, and actually even smaller world, Dean Guido. Oh man, I know him from like my fitness background.
Okay,
And he used to have a podcast.
cool.
And I remember me and my other business partner, Tony, went with him and did his podcast.
Very cool.
Freaking, that was years and years ago now. What a small world.
Yeah, I love when that what's the word?
Synchronicity?
Synchronicity kind of rolls through and kind of makes you say, holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
The world
bro.
is a lot smaller than you think, you know?
Oh, it totally is. And
But at the same time, it goes into the people you attract, the energy you emit.
Mhm.
It might be deep, it might sound crazy, but when you are on that same kind of plane, you always seem to find yourself kind of, hey, I know that person and that person.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like a little circle almost that you like-minded people, going back to that, like-minded people.
Absolutely, dog. Do you know Wolfpack?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. You don't know Wolfpack, bro?
I don't.
I'm a Wolfpack fucking
band?
Oh man, yeah.
Okay.
You might know some of the artists from it,
Right.
like Corey Wong, and we can't play music because it will get me fucking kicked off. But they got a song called "Birds of Man." If there's one thing, if you ever this Wolfpick live at Madison Square Garden, bro,
I'll check it out for sure.
Wild. I watch it. It's come out since 2019. I watch it probably every year, bro.
Really?
It's just.
I'll make sure you send a link.
Oh, I will.
Send a link right now.
Crazy. Why I bring it up? They have a song called "Birds of a Feather Flock Together."
There you go.
And it's a great song, but obviously it's built on the cliche of it. But it's
Yeah.
absolutely true, and I think it's one of the reasons why we get along so well. Obviously, and,
Well, 100%. Like, again, never have meeting each other other than one show before,
yeah.
and then deciding to do a song with you and asking if you wanted to do a verse on that slow down song was because of the energy I felt when I met you.
Hey.
And then the fact that we sit down and the first time we actually get to sit down and talk, it's just like we've met before and we just clicked.
Mhm.
So that type of, I don't know. I love that shit.
Oh, dog.
Pardon my language,
No,
but
you
it's
can swear all
great.
you want, bro.
I thoroughly enjoy and basically kind of base my life around those types of connections and that type of energy,
Oh, dog, 100. Obviously, me too. As we're both wearing.
Yeah.
But let's start from the beginning with us. So yeah, that's the first time we met as is Martin's show,
Yeah, the Jubilee.
which was awesome, super fun
Incredible
show. You not only sang with Martin, but I think you also did a solo
he
song.
did me a great favor, or whatever you want to call it, and allowed me to take the stage after I performed the song that we had collaborated with, me and Martin Kerr, and then he let me take the stage in front of 100 people, and
It was litty.
Yeah.
It was litty.
gave them my heart, and it was amazing. It was one of the bigger crowds I've performed to, and
Yeah, I guess actually me too.
especially enclosed anyways, I guess.
Yeah, and mine is especially in the theater, because when I used to do club shows, I think the biggest show I did was Tyga. I opened for Tyga, and that was crazy. People were
Nice.
losing their mind. But I think that club was maybe 1,500 people at the most.
Cool. Yeah, I think prior to that would have been with my previous project, Kane Incognito. We opened for Sum 41.
Oh, you're saying
And that was
must have been crazy.
it was crazy on so many levels because I grew up listening to that band, and then not really in the music industry, at least pushing my own project for very long, and next thing you know, I'm opening for one of the biggest Canadian kind of metal rock bands that we've had in our generation, and it was just like a wow moment. Like,
And how long is that time frame from when you start putting out music to opening from Sum 41?
that was about 5 years.
Damn.
So like from writing a song where it all began for my brother,
Mhm.
where I could honestly barely play guitar and sing. Like
Mhm.
that was my third song I ever wrote. That was in 2015. I shared that. And then online, that was the first time I ever shared. It was just a video of me singing it,
I was just gonna ask
performing
what
it
Damn.
on Facebook. And then
Okay.
And then, so that was, I think, February of 2015, and then 2019. So 4 years.
Oh,
2019,
wow.
I opened up for Sum
Oh, even
41.
quicker, bro.
That's like,
That's pretty crazy. Go from a Facebook video post to Sum 41.
yeah, that's wild, hey?
Oh, dog. Your story is one that is cool, and that's why I think this podcast is going to be cool, because there's so much. Even when I was planning this, I was like, okay, I got to make these broad, because I want to get the story behind these things. And there's a bunch of. Also, do you have a heart? Is there a time you have to bounce by?
Not necessarily.
Okay. I won't keep you too long, but usually an hour or two is kind of the sweet spot.
I didn't really eat this morning, so we'll see as soon as I start
Okay.
stuttering and getting weird. It's time to go.
All right, sounds
The
good.
fast needs to be broken.
Because that's always another thing, is it's like you're always welcome to come on again in the future.
Yeah,
or anything
well,
if we don't
100%.
But let's go right from the beginning of it, bro. So what inspired to get that first video on Facebook?
Well, we'll go right to the beginning of my story.
Let's go.
And it's like, I grew up in a very musically influenced family. My papa, my grandpa, every family gathering, he would be playing the piano. We'd always singing along, and like, I wouldn't be, I guess, at the younger ages, and I never really cared to sing along, but I loved sitting there and watching and listening to my family sing together, and it was just a beautiful thing.
But you wouldn't sing.
I don't think I really ever would sing. No, I was very, very shy.
Oh,
Still am, and I fight through it every single day. But
fascinating.
I honestly, I always ask people if they've ever had the same reaction, but like, for half of my life before I forced myself to start singing, anytime I would sing in front of people, I would, like, my body's response, my eyes would start like watering, and it wouldn't be like it wasn't like I'm crying, but it was like whatever nervous system, like, it just triggered this crazy defense. Like, I'm like, it was creating so much anxiety that my body's like, I don't know what to do right now, but let's try making your eyes water.
Interesting.
And it would do that like as long as I could remember growing up. And I was very shy, very timid child, introverted. I went through puberty and just like as soon as I went through puberty in high school, I had the craziest social anxiety. But I always had this vision of me playing my guitar. I had my uncle on my mom's side, so my papa, who played piano, his son, he played acoustic guitar all the time as well. And it was just like, man, I want to be able to play the guitar like that when I get older, you know?
Very cool.
And then I had on my dad's side an uncle, Richie, who also played guitar and had some opportunities in his earlier years in the country scene fall through, but he did some really amazing things. Incredible songwriter. So there was music all around in my family. It inspired me all the time, my whole life. And I always had the vision of performing and being that guy that was able to sing and play guitar and make people, feel. But I just never had the mental capacity, or I shouldn't say mental capacity, but like the cojones to do it, because my social anxiety and like my body just did the craziest things as soon as I'd like think about it, like public speaking or anything like that.
Oh,
just
really?
like crazy anxiety around all of that. So then there was the artist, as we all most likely know, City and Color, Dallas Green. He releases, I think, in whatever it was, 2006-ish maybe. 2009, actually, I think maybe. But The Girl, the album and the song, The Girl.
Okay.
The album, I don't think is The Girl. It's, I think, Save Your Scissors, maybe. It's been a long time. But the song, I wish I could do better by The Girl. Anyways, he released that song, and I could not believe how the song made me feel and how just incredibly beautiful it was, and the fact that it was just this guy and his guitar.
Word.
And it really it's like, man, I want that. I want to be able to make people feel that way. That song and that artist just made me feel.
Yeah, that's the song that did it.
That's the song, The Girl. Now, at that point, I had already got, again, that vision, that dream was there, present. My sister actually got me, I was just talking about this because my sister just got me a guitar when I was 16.
Okay.
And that idea of playing guitar was already there, like I said, but I was too scared to do it in front of anyone. And then a few years later, that song comes out, and it really is like, man, I want to do that. But again, didn't have couldn't do it.
Are you playing guitar during this time?
A little bit, like learning a couple covers, learning very, very, like nothing intense, no lessons. My uncle gave me one lesson. Like when I got it, he's like, here's the 4 chords.
Oh, cool.
I'm like, what are chords? Like,
Word.
what's going on?
Word.
So over the years, though, I was always like, okay, I want to play my guitar. So I kind of played guitar a little bit, but I was too scared to do anything with it. And then 2015 rolls around, at that point, I had been playing drums. I learned how to play drums and played with my brother's band.
Okay.
Again, I guess I jumped the gun there a little bit. When I was 18, I moved out from the country where I was living, moved in with my brother. He was in a band. He was 5 years older than me, and I was, again, so drawn to music. So I went all the jams, all the shows. I just like was so tuned into it, but too scared to do anything, just standing in the shadows watching. And my brother all the time was just like, he was the lead singer of this band, and he was like, anything you want to do in this band, you can play, you can be a part of it. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be nice, but I just can't get over this wall of fear that I have of performing. So I just watched and I listened and I watched and I went to shows. And then finally their drummer had quit. And at that point, my brother drummed growing up. I could kind of like do,
Okay,
like a very, very, very basic drum beats.
Okay.
I couldn't really drum. And my brother calls me and he goes, Kyle just quit. Do you want to drum in the band? Yes or no? I need to know right now on this conversation, on this call. And I'm like, yes. And he goes, okay, click, hangs up. I'm like, oh crap, what did I just do? He calls me back. He goes, I also have a show offering to open up for Hail the Villain, who is like, they released, I think, one album, but made it across Canada. Like they were very similar to like Billy Talent.
Oh, okay. Cool.
We have the opportunity to open up for them. He calls me back and he says this in 3 months. And I'm like, man, I don't even have drums. Like, what do you mean 3 months? But I'm just like, yes.
Damn.
Okay, click, hangs up. I'm like, holy crap. So that was like one of the first times I ever like just, broke the walls down of that barrier where anything to do with that performing thing or idea, I would just shut it down immediately. So I finally said yes. And it was just like, holy crap. So for the next 3 months, I ended up buying the drums off the drummer that quit.
Okay.
Within the first week or so. And I drummed every day. At that time, I was pipe fitting and steam fitting in the trades. So it was like 10, 12-hour days I was working. And then I'd come home and I'd drum as long as I possibly physically could handle. And I did that for 3 months straight. And by 3 months, I knew how to drum in an hour-long set for this established rock metal band.
Damn.
And it was just like, it wasn't really anything to me. I was just like, okay, I just did it. But everyone that watched and was like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
That guy just learned 10 years of drumming knowledge in 3 months. And I'm just like, sweet, I'm terrified. So I play this show and it's a sold out show. The whole room, so many people came to watch me perform because, again, Eric's drumming, and the whole room at the pawn shop at the show which is, I think the capacity at the time was like 3 something, and it like oversold. Either way, it was just slammed.
Damn.
And the whole room's just chanting, Eric, Eric, Eric. And I remember my bandmates at the time, which all are like my brothers at this point, and still to this day. They're on stage with me and they're just like, they're looking at me kind of just shaking their head like, what the heck is happening? This is a No Heat Tomorrow show, which the band name was, and the whole bar and room is chanting Eric. And the curtains were behind the curtains at this point. There's like curtains that cover the stage. And at that point, though, we're going on stage and I have like an anxiety attack because I'm just like, holy man, like what is happening? My brother, I sat down on the drums and I'll never forget it. He leaned over the drums. He grabs me by the face, basically the head, and he pulls me and looks me in the eyes and goes, you were born for this. And he pushes away, and then I'm about to cry. 30 seconds later, 10 seconds later, the curtain opens up and we start our set. And it was the most fulfilling, satisfying thing that I've ever done, was overcoming that fear. And there was, at that point, the band No Heat Tomorrow was well established. They were 4 years probably, or whatever it was, into their career. And when I first played my show, the whole city knew, hence why we were getting the opening opportunity for a big Canadian band like that. And everyone after were like, that was the best No Heat Tomorrow show that you guys have ever had. And it was just like, that was insane. And second show was playing at Boonstock, which was one of the, at the time, if you're familiar with the Boonstock it was one of the biggest rock festivals in North America for like 5 years or 3 years at least running. Total of like 50,000 people over the weekend or whatever.
Second show?
My second show was going and playing with like a Perfect Circle, Sublime with Rome, Dirty Heads. Like it was just like thrown into it like
wow,
full speed
that
ahead.
is so not the typical beginning of
No.
how you wow, bro.
So I had to really step it up. So 5 years ago with this band, we end up opening up for, just national talent, Vince Neil, Biff Naked.
and you're playing drums the whole time.
Playing drums. Now, the whole time my brother wanted me to, and the idea was to do backup singing and sing as well while I was drumming. But again, that was this next level. Like the drums now became this shield, and that was like the new wall of fear. Going outside of that realm was, I just couldn't do it at that point. So 5 years go by, we do some incredible things, had a record label opportunity at the time. And this is like before social media, man. Like by the end of that was when, okay, bands should be getting Instagram and Twitter. And like, it was pretty
Before it's just play shows.
Yeah, it was just play. And we were playing some incredible shows. And my brother ended up getting injured and went down a very dark hole and path. After the doctor prescribed him Percocets, and then it led to Oxycontin, and then it led to 2 years addicted to Oxycontin. And then he finally pulled himself out of that side of the addiction and weaned himself off basically heroin, which is the Oxycontin side. And really almost died from that. And then he weaned himself off of it, and then he started drinking again, then he started hanging out with the wrong people, and then he started getting into other hard drugs, you could say. And 5 years of that, and the whole time as well, as we were all in this band together, I still lived with him at the time.
So you're there for this,
I was
right there.
I was in it all. And I finally, the end of 2014, I told him I was just done. Like I gave him all of my energy to try to help him through all of that. And I finally told him, come January, February, I'm going to be moving out of the house. I lived with him when I moved out of my acreage home, where I grew up from 17, just turned 18, all the way till 26. I lived with my brother.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then prior, my whole life out on the acreage. Like I lived my whole life beside my brother,
Wow.
And I finally was like, I can't do this anymore, man. I can't. You need to do this on your own, and you need to see that, you need to hit rock bottom, and me leaving, I think, will really help you do that. And he's like, okay, don't leave. And he puts himself into detox for 11 days. And this is now the beginning of January 2015. I had just finished my pipe fitting, steam fitting trade schooling, as well as all of those things happening. And I was going out of town to do my first journeyman pipe fitting job. And he had just put himself and decided he decided he put himself into detox. And he was there for 11 days while I was away and working. And then I came back. I saw him once, actually. I had to get my vehicle, and I saw him, I think it was 4 or 5 days into his detox, that my mom made me bring him a roll of quarters for the vending machines. And it was the first time I saw my brother basically sober, in
years,
5+ years.
Oh, wow.
I saw him. And if anyone out there has battled addiction or has been a part of someone's journey in addiction, when you see someone on something, you don't see them anymore, right? Like it's kind of a mask, and you don't really get to see into their soul, their energy, their light. And that was the first time I went there, and I gave him a roll of quarters, and I gave him a hug, and was the first time I saw him sober. The first time I shouldn't even say sober, but saw him
Ooh.
in 5+ years or whatever. And it was so just surreal. It was just mind melting, really. But then I left, and then I got a call about a week later. He had got out of detox, and we could go down the rabbit hole around all of that. But basically, when someone is in detox, you're the most vulnerable at the end of that, most vulnerable that your body could ever be. Like, you just abused it for 5 years, and then you're weaning yourself and going through withdrawals for another 10, 11 days. You leave that like as vulnerable as an infant.
Yeah.
Anything you put in your system could be fatal, really, right? And he left that, and he should be immediately brought into rehab where he wanted to go. But the plan and system and healthcare system that we have laid out made him wait 3 weeks. And what did they do in that 3-week span? Give him more drugs to cope.
Oh.
So they prescribed him sleeping pills, which again, doesn't seem like a bad idea really, but when your body is just so tapped out, anything can be fatal.
Yeah.
And he took sleeping pills, and he ended up passing in his sleep. And I got the call while I was up north working, and it was basically the worst day of my life getting that news. And I ripped home, drove home 3.5 hours, just bawling my eyes out.
That must have been the worst.
It was the craziest drive of my life, right? I remember getting the call. I was out with the crew in a restaurant eating, and I was like, why is my sister calling me right now? And it was like 7 p.m., 6 p.m. maybe. And she calls me and tells me, Keith just passed. And I walked from the table area and answered the phone in the entrance of the building. Just dropped to my knees, like in shock, get up, walk back to the table, like obviously as white as a ghost. And the table, the crew I was working with at the time ask what's wrong, and I tell them, and they're just like, oh my God. They end up driving me back to my hotel. I load up everything in my car, and I'm just like, I gotta go. And I just like drove home for 3.5 hours in silence and just like battling all of that. It was life-changing.
Of course.
Absolutely life-changing moment. And so at that point, again, I lived with them, and we spent the next 2-3 weeks planning funerals and moving, because at that point I'm like, I'm moving out of this place for sure. And got everything out of there, and then I moved in with my mother. And at that point, again, I had started playing my acoustic guitar again, all around that, the 6 months leading up to it. And I had wrote 1 or 2 songs, and then a month after my brother passed, I wrote We Lay a Brother Down. And it kind of was in
damn.
Yeah. It was kind of in tribute to a song that my brother wrote called Lay a Brother Down. And I'm not actually really sure where the meaning came from his song that he wrote, With No Heat Tomorrow. But it was like tribute to him and tribute to that song that he had previously wrote, and I called it We Lay a Brother Down.
That's
crazy. I shared it. I wrote it, and within a few days, and then I videoed myself playing it in my living room. And it wasn't like I didn't have any lights set up. It was just like literally in the video, I walk into my living room, like I put my phone down on this counter, and I like push record, and I pull the table into the cropped where the camera can see or whatever.
Yeah.
Sit down. I'm like making sure like it wasn't planned. It was just the most like, this is time I have to get this off my chest. And I record it. At this point, like I listen back and I'm like, I cringe on my skills, right?
Of course.
But like the emotional exchange in that video is why what happened next happened, which was I pushed share, and
So that's the Facebook video.
That was the first Facebook video I ever shared of myself singing and playing guitar.
Oof.
And as soon as I pushed share, within the hour, the Bear, a local radio station, got a hold of me.
Damn.
And said, "Hey man, they shared it on their Facebook page." And I wasn't really like looking at Facebook at the time. I didn't have a business that I run on it. It was just like my personal page, click share. And then I was kind of going on with my day. And then my phone starts going off or whatever. And that's where the Bear, I'm like, holy crap. Bear got a hold of me, asked if they shared it and asked if I wanted to come down to the radio station that day and talk about it and potentially perform it live on air. And I'm just like, I can barely play the guitar and sing. Like I just posted that. And now I'm watching this video, just like shares. And it's videos. It was going viral. And I had to. And the biggest thing I learned from my brother in that 1 month span, and even prior, one of the lessons, the greatest gift that my brother had as a human being was his ability to feel like anyone he talked to, you're his best friend.
Damn.
Just make you feel like you are someone and something, which you are, but he really brought it out of you.
Yeah.
And it was such a beautiful attribute to have as a human. Kindness. And secondly was his ability to just say yes to everything. He never like contemplated and procrastinated. He just literally just did it. He just did things. And it was just so amazing because, which I mean, a lot of people do, but for myself, my whole life, like I talked about, I had this wall. Any situation socially situated, I would have to contemplate and procrastinate and go through all the bad things that could possibly happen. And there's this big wall that I had to climb in order to say yes. And I usually would never climb that wall. I would just, I'm comfortable over here.
Word.
And finally, my brother passes. Death is real. I spent 3.5 hours in my head that one drive, and it was like life just freaking turmoiling and flashing before my eyes. And I would probably say that was when it happened, but like I had a complete rewiring of my brain and a spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it. But it was like from that point on, nothing mattered other than love, kindness, acting on beautiful things that the life gives you.
Word.
And
Powerful.
that was it. So as soon as the Bear said, "Hey man, we just shared this video. Do you want to come do this?" The old me is going, "No, I don't want to do this because I'm scared out of my tree." But there was zero hesitation. I was just like, yes, I have to do this.
Woo.
And I went and I did it. And it was, again, another groundbreaking moment in my life that said, holy shit, I have the power. I have the ability to do anything. You just have to say yes. You just have to move forward. And I went and did this live interview. Hundreds of thousands of people, whatever it is, listening to the Bear at 6 p.m. driving home after work. And my inboxes just started flooding with messages of message requests, because thousands and thousands of people basically listening and sharing their thank yous. Thank you for sharing that. People that knew Keith, people that had no idea who I was, but just were affected by the art and the emotional transfer that I was able to achieve. And I think, I'm not the greatest singer. I'm not the greatest guitar player. And especially then I could barely perform, but the ability and the gift that I got from all that was the exchange of my raw emotion. And it shows that talent is one thing, but energy and emotion and exchange of that is what runs and works this world, whether you want to believe it or not.
100%.
And as soon as someone that can barely play and sing, but is giving you that emotional slap in the face, that's what the authentic thing that's happening there is what music should be
100%.
and what life should be, right? And it just connected with so many people and just so many thank yous. And that was the moment I was just like, this is what I'm here for. And
that's fascinating. You have these moments, these you and this is why it's so interesting to hear somebody's a story, especially, I mean, what fascinates me the most is hearing somebody's journey, because I'm a fan first. Obviously,
man.
we homies, but I'm a fan before I knew you, and it's always cool to me to understand, okay, I like what this person's doing. How did they get there though?
Right.
What? Because that's what's more. If I like this thing, that means I'm probably gonna like how you got there. And,
Right.
You know, and
There's
that,
a reason why you like that thing.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
there's, especially because the thing I'm most attracted, especially when you're talking about not being the best guitar player or singer. I disagree. I think you're very talented, but I know what you're saying, and I think of artists like Bob Marley. You know, no one's ever like, wow, Bob Marley's really got range. You know,
Yeah.
but it's like why that music is so beautiful. It's because it's so authentic.
Hits you in the soul, man.
You know, and it's just like it's
Goosebumps.
You need to have a, you know, there's artists that I dig, like, you know, your Kendricks or your Jacob Colliers, that are like masters of the craft, that are doing these abstract musical, you know, moves. But it's like, that's cool, but it's like there's a level of authenticity that allows them to get away with that. They're not just mathematicians, you know, making music. And so
there's reason behind it.
There's reason. That's why it's not just some crazy jazz dude going fucking throwing paint at the wall, you know. But what's so interesting about your story to me is you have these moments that seem so rooted in your path. Like, you know, it's like there was this moment, and I remember this. It's almost, in you explaining it, you can tell you remember it so well. It's so engraved into you.
Everything, right? Like
it's visceral. Like like I feel like I was at the show with you. The way you're describing things, like you can, you know, I've talked to musicians before on the podcast and stuff, and you know how people got into their whatever have you. But what's so fascinating for you is you have this, like, you know, almost lack of skill, and then you're tossed into the spotlight, and you're like, fuck it, I'm here for it, and you're rewarded for it. You know, it's not like you take this risk and there's instant failure. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you take this risk, you put in the time and the effort, you know, you're putting in the time, an hour or however much you're doing for those 3 months of drumming initially to play this
many hours.
So how many hours would you say a week? So in those three months, how many, if you had to guess? You saying 100 hours, 300 hours?
Put it this way, I seized my neck up to a point where I had to start getting, like, in the first time of my life, I was like young, like 21, right? Damn. You don't need massages and stuff at that age. Right. But it was actually like a funny moment, because my neck and everything seized up because I was holding my arms drumming, right? Like using all your upper body muscles that I never did for drumming. Yeah. And all of a sudden everything was all messed up in my back and my neck. I'm like, oh man, something's wrong. But I didn't like connect the dots until after. And so I don't know. I would do like 3 hours a night. Oh, yeah, so it's just like, just as long as my physically could handle it and mentally handle it.
And that's what's crazy. So this is what I'm talking about. Because no matter what the story is that you tell, it's supported by the grind, the hustle. Right. You know, think about, you succeeded not because you got the opportunity, but because you busted your ass. Yeah. You know, and that was the difference between somewhat, you know, it's like I have homies who teach music lessons too, and it's like one of the hardest things is just to get someone to practice. Yeah. Just fucking play this thing every day for 10 minutes even, you know, most people. So it's like, that's just, I think it's one thing as musicians that gets so underappreciated is the amount of time you just have to put in.
I get questions all the time from people, random people, friends, just hundreds of messages over the years. Hey, I want to start singing, or I want to start playing guitar. Like, what's your advice on getting to your level, or being able to play this or whatever? And I'm just like, play. Just play it till your fingers and your voice and everything hurts and you don't want to play it anymore. And then you're going to wake up and then you do that again. And you just keep doing that until your body starts rewiring things and you start understanding it a bit, and you watch YouTube videos, and then you go back and then you play it more. And it's just, there's no secret sauce, that's for sure.
It's just
and
time in.
I think, again, it's always great having these conversations, because I've told this story many times over the years, but every time I tell it, it opens another why, and like, where did that perseverance, whatever that I had going into it, where did it come from? Obviously, it's like, okay, even before my brother passed, I suppose, so that I can't use that. But skateboarding. Skateboarding was one of the hardest sports literally in the world. Grueling on the body, physical pain for failures.
Yeah.
And it teaches you so much. And I skateboarded for like 8 years of my life. Again, my brother, childhood idol, right? Like my older brother, he snowboarded, he skateboarded, and played baseball. And basically I just followed his path, his footsteps. And I ended up skateboarding for, 8 years, until I actually got to the point of being 6'4", and I started slamming on the ground a lot harder. And it's like, when you're 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", 5'8" over the years of growing, and then you get this like boom, you grow a foot in like a year or two. That foot adds so much more force to hitting the ground. Like,
I never thought about
it's literally math, physics. Like, I'm this high now, I'm hitting the ground that much harder. And I started hitting the ground. I'm just like, holy man, I don't know if I can handle this anymore. And I kind of took a step back, and I started snowboarding more rather than skateboarding. And that was actually my first dream, was to become a pro snowboarder.
Oh, sick.
I started, again, my brother snowboarding, and then I was this little kid, 10 years old, 11 years old, wanting to hang out with my 15, 16-year-old brother. And him and his buddies are out on the back, growing up on a big acreage with lots of hills. They build all these massive snowboard jumps.
Oh, sick.
And then in order for me to hang out with my brother, he would make me hit the jump first. And that was even in the early days of getting on a snowboard. He's like, if you want to hang out, you have to hit that. And I'm like, okay. And then I do it. So that was a really incredible life lesson, as well as pushing through the fear on that physical adrenaline side. But the social anxiety side of it, I just went the other way, avoided.
Interesting.
But then I started using alcohol to cope with that nerves and the social settings. I can drink booze, and that subsides. So I spent too many years drinking to counteract that social anxiety.
And did you drink at your first show?
I had a beer or two.
Oh, just something like
a couple beer to kind of take that bite off of it. But I knew the reason why I was doing those shows, and the reason was to learn how to break that wall down. And in the drumming years, I definitely had a few drinks, and didn't really see the problem in it, right?
Yeah.
I was too in it to realize what was actually happening. At that point, I didn't really think about the social anxiety. I just knew I felt weird, but I know if I drink this beer, it'll make me feel better, right? But then I really started diving into it when I started performing solo. And that comes after all of that story I just told. I wrote that song, and then I started the band, Kane Incognito.
Okay, yeah, so that's where we're at. So what
Sure.
this is a great
Turn back.
Bro, look at this. Beautiful, bro. You could be a podcaster, bro. So your brother passes a couple months later, you put up this song?
Yeah, my brother passed January 2015. January 15th, 2015.
Okay.
And I think it was mid-February.
Oh, so right away, actually.
Like a month.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it was after, we had his funeral like the 25th or something like that of January. And it was like a couple weeks after that. So I wrote that, shared it, went viral.
Yeah.
And again, I think it hit like 60,000 views back then.
Cool.
Which is like, it's probably like 1 million views now. Like, it went viral.
Huge.
And that, the early stages of Facebook and like, 2015, not like super early, but like, again, just beyond where we're at now with every other person has a viral of their cat going, or a video of their cat going viral, 1 million views, right? Like that just didn't happen that often then. So 60,000 views was pretty crazy, like 1,000 shares, whatever it is. It just, made me realize that this is what's up. So
Sick.
I spent the next year figuring out life now, because I had to move. I moved in with my mom, and we grieved and we went through it.
Of course.
And finally, on top of it, so going back to the drinking, I was now at this point where the only thing I knew over on the weekends, because the band was done, was hanging out with everybody that wanted to hang out now, because my brother passed, and the only thing we would do is drink and hang out and talk about it.
Of course.
So it was just like more drinking. And then it got to about a year, maybe not a year. It was that summer. Within that year, I just kept drinking, and it wasn't like I was drinking every day, but it was like the social settings on the weekends. That's all I used to do, was either play music or go out and drink and have good time with your friends.
Of course.
I got to the point where I was, like 10 pints of beer and 10 shots in the night. And then I started blacking out. And again, I had these very vivid moments. And I was on White Ave, and I was out with one of my friends, and however many shots and beers into the night, drinks into the night, I came to about 20 minutes down from White Ave, Horlack Park.
Oh yeah.
And I was in my t-shirt. It was -10. So this would have been the following winter, I believe. Either way, I came to stumbling up out of the ditch, like, a foot of snow on the ground, in a t-shirt, -10. My body went into survival mode. I was on the verge of freezing to death, hypothermic, teeth chattering.
So wait, you blacked out and you
blacked
woke
out
up?
on White Ave.
Oh.
Came to stumbling up out of the ditch. I wasn't laying there, but I came to walking up off the road, and my body was just like done. Like,
holy fuck.
probably another hour out there, or if I passed out in the snow, I would have died.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh my
And
God.
I knew it. I felt it. My body was like, dude. And I just, as soon as, like, I just have this, again, visual recollection of coming to, seeing that I was in the ditch, and I was just like, where am I right now? And I walk up on the road, and I flag down the first car that comes up. And I'm like, yo, I may look like a crazy drunk person, because I am, but I'm about to freeze to death, and I need you to drive me to the warmest place, or the first warm place you can get me. And it was a girl that drove me up to the Save-On, or the Shoppers Drug Mart on 109th. And I walk in the doors, and this security guard could sense that it was life-threatening, basically. And he's like, oh my God, man, you okay? And I was just like, still fucking shaking. And I stood under the door entrance heater, and he's like, let me call you a cab. And it was a moment where I was like, holy crap. And I cabbed all the way back to Spruce Grove.
Holy shit.
And then almost died. I went and did the same thing the next night.
Whew.
Blacked out at this place we were having whatever drinks, and I came to banging on a door that was not the door that I was at. And I was like, this is it. Went home, whatever. I disconnected from that lifestyle, and I started picking up my guitar again.
Ooh.
And that is where, instead of going out and drinking, I would learn a song. I would write a song. And every single weekend for the next 2 years, or the next year, I would just play my guitar.
And so how old are you now?
26, 27.
Damn, you're just playing.
As every ounce of craving that I wanted to go drink and hang out and chase girls, and I picked up my guitar, and I'd learn another song, and I'd write another song, and I'd play. And until the urge to go do that kind of dissipated. It's still there. I still always, but
Of course.
You're
Music.
focused. The focus, and then I started going to the gym,
Mm.
and music and the gym, man, it saved my life basically. So
if your people change the world, BPM, baby, it's always what it is. It's always
100%
what it
though,
is,
like
bro.
it's why I preach it, because I literally lived it. You
Mm.
know, like I part of my message, part of my music, my brand is to try to influence you to become better, because we are all trapped and stuck in one way or another. And it unfortunately takes tragedy that I had to go through a lot of the time to really, wake you up a bit and go, holy crap. But I was given the opportunity, given the gift, given the ability to step over that wall, break through that wall now of fear, and chase that reason, I guess, the feeling that I am here for, and that is to try to help you, give you music, give you light and love through it all, and try to inspire you to be that better person without having to go through tragedy.
That's I'm gonna keep bringing it up, but it seems like you've always it always seems like the most positive thing about whatever given situation is, okay, I'll just work harder. It's like, oh yeah, shit, you know what? Instead of going out partying, chasing women, blah 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 blah, let me put more hours into this. Let me put more hours into this.
For sure.
Maybe that's not your cognitive thought. You're like, oh shit, maybe I gotta stop doing this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a better habit. But it's like,
well, at that point, yeah, I completely agree. And again, it's cool to see the other perspective on it, because I don't really sit there and think about it when I'm doing it. But yeah, it's like I had the vision now. I saw what I was capable of doing and how I was able to influence thousands of people. 60,000 views. There's a reason, again, 60,000 is nothing now, but then it was a crazy number. It's still a beautiful, right? 60,000 people and thousands of messages. And then every time I perform at a show, I sing that song, and I sing and I talk about mental health, and I talk about addiction, and it's a subject and a thing that we all stray away from because, it makes me feel. And it's like, well, shit, we're supposed to feel. So I'm gonna
about feelings on this podcast.
100%. And it's like, I had members of the band and management a couple times say, maybe we shouldn't be playing that song at this festival. And I'm like, fuck that. That's my reason. That's my truth. That's why I'm here. If I'm not gonna do that, then I'm not. Then it's work. Then there's no reason. If you can't follow your truth in life in general. So I kept playing those songs, and I kept doing that, and that's eventually really why I ended up going solo. My truth.
Yeah.
It'll never change, right? But yeah, I saw it start to influence, whether it was one person that came up at those shows where I wasn't supposed to be playing that song, but that person over there is crying now and said, man, I needed that so bad. And it's like, again, we are all so accustomed to running from feelings, right? Running from I talk to people who lost their loved ones that are years and years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, and they still get triggered by that. And it's like, yeah, we'll never, for losing my brother, like I'll never not be triggered or like feel it, but I'm not triggered. I shouldn't say I've healed. I've spent the time. It still affects me, and I'll think about it randomly once a week or once a month, and it'll bring me to tears. I'll never be over it. Yeah. But I've done the work, and I've accepted it, and I've worked on the emotional. I've felt the emotions, which is everything. I've again, another moment of like the milestone in realizing what the point of this whole grieving process was with my brother, and how do I get through it. And it was a moment walking into Michael's art store, and my brother was a tattoo artist. That's who did this. He was an incredibly talented human.
Damn,
he
your brother
airbrushed
did tons of shit.
Again, incredible human, man. Like so talented, so inspiring from the younger brother side of it. Like, man, this guy is such an
And
awesome
how much older
human.
was he than you?
5 years.
Oh wow.
So he did what he wanted. He said yes, and he acted. He was a tattoo artist, an airbrusher. He chased art. He was a musician. Like he chased his passions, right? And
Beautiful.
but yeah, I was so he used to paint a lot, and he would buy these big frames, and he'd paint this crazy canvas paintings, and he'd spend like hundreds of dollars on these big wooden frames that you can get at Michael's. And I always went with him. And I was actually painting, I forget what I was painting. I think it might have been my jean jacket for my old project, Kane Incognito or something.
Okay.
No, that would have been too late. Either way, I went into Michael's to get something, and I walked past the framing section for where I went for years and years with my brother. And I like saw the framing section, and I felt the emotions flooding in and the sadness flooding in, and I turned around and was walking the other way. And I was like, no. Go feel that. Go feel what you're feeling there. And I turned back around, walked back into the painting section, frame section, sorry, and I stood there and I just started crying. And I was just like, holy shit, man. And I just sat there and I felt it, and I felt it, and I felt it, and I let the emotions do what they are supposed to do.
Wow.
And I felt it. And every time I felt something after that, every time you feel lonely, every time you feel angry, there's a reason. And the reason isn't run the other way. The reason is feel it. Feel these emotions. We are all emotional beings. Yeah. We run on emotions, on energy. That's just energy, right? Like it's so that moment and every moment since, feel it and ask yourself, why am I feeling it? And live in that moment. Feel it. Feel lonely. It's good, man. Feel lonely. Start listening to what's happening in your mind and stop running away from those things. And that is when you become present, and that is when you start healing yourself. And that's the biggest thing, right? Like start asking why am I so mad at you right now for saying that one thing, right? Like that's not on you, that's on you. What's happening in here, whether that happened 30 years ago or not, there's a reason why you're being triggered and mad at someone for saying something, right?
Heavy facts.
Yesterday, this girl.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy JusJrdn here, interrupting myself to do my own ad. Thank you so much for all the likes, subscriptions, and thanks for checking out this video. If you really want to support me and the channel, the best thing that you can do is pre-order my vinyl record. I've been working on this record for forever. It's only coming out on vinyl. There will only ever be 1,000 copies of this vinyl ever released, and it would mean the world if you bought it. I spent a lot of time, a lot of money, worked with some of the best musicians in all of Canada, especially all of Edmonton, to put this together. It's a beautiful album, influences of rock, hip hop, and it's just a beautiful, unique piece of art, and it's made for the art lovers. But it's going to be gold. It's beautiful colors, so many great artists on this. And yeah, it's my second album of all time, Olympus, and I'm so proud of it. So it would mean the world if you could pick it up. If you really want to support the channel, it would mean everything. All right, back to the podcast. Oh, also, before back to the podcast, you can pre-order it at www.primepurposemovement.com/shop. All right, thank you. Goodbye. Heavy.
Like yesterday, this girl on the road drives up to me, rolls her window down, and just starts swearing at me. You pull your head out of your ass. And I'm just like, lady, I just slowed down because there's a big truck right there, and she had to like swerve around me or whatever. And she was just so mad. And then all I did, my first instinct is like, yeah, F you, whatever. But at the same time, I just start laughing, and it's almost sad because that person's so mad. Why are you so mad?
Yeah. It wasn't this.
It's not this.
It's not this.
And all I do is I put my hand out the window and go, bye. And I wave. And then she pulls up again and just yells some more stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. Like I easily could have been triggered by that and yell back and swear and give her the finger. But I know that it's not me she's like that, sure. Right? Like there's obviously more going on. She had a bad day, whatever it is. But like, if she just sat there and felt, why am I so mad right now? It would go down a totally different path. It's not the guy that just stopped himself from getting rear-ending someone.
Yeah.
Like it. So
Oh,
I really learned to feel those emotions and be present, and I healed on a grand scale from where I was prior to that, which I thought I was healed, right?
Of
Like
course.
I thought I'm okay, I've
It
accepted
always
it,
goes
right?
deeper.
But then it was like, holy man, I'm running from that feeling in Michael's, and I just faced the fear. I faced that emotion. I started crying in the middle of Michael's, and again, it was life changing. So I try to bring those types again, going back, I suppose, to where I started playing these songs at shows, and it's like people don't realize how much they're avoiding those emotions, right?
Yeah.
And like escaping. That's why I'm at this festival, is to escape all that. But it's like, I want to create this experience to help you freaking escape, but also heal and like feel. Because
and sorry to interrupt, but this is a great question, because that's the kind of art that I love and I strive to make, is that art that it's like yeah, again, it's better art and healthier people. That's what my whole thing is.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, the better art makes you a healthier person too. You know, what you consume is what you become, not only food. And how do you as an artist balance that? You know, because people do, and most people, just like anything, why McDonald's is more popular than you know, eating salads is because it's funner. It's easier.
it's easier. It's accessibly.
You know, even from an
shoved in-
artistic standpoint, it's easier to make that. Again, not easier. There's still a skill set, and I love that kind of music too. I'm never bashing that style of music, but like, you know, that music that people are getting lost in. That's almost like just like the alcohol too. It's mindless. It's in the background. It's, you know, it's simple,
catchy.
Sounds like everything else.
Yeah.
You know, and how do you balance that? Because your stuff is so raw and authentic, and you know, you've even had people in the past be like, hey bro, like maybe that heart stuff, maybe just heart, you know. How do you balance that as an artist? Because there's still an expectation of
there's
wanna
nothing wrong with having those songs, and it's like, for example, like Eyes Wide Open.
Yeah,
so
great song.
Thank you. That started out as this really slow, emotionally driven song. And it was, again, based off the moment where I really honed in on being present after I lost my brother. And it like has this crazy emotional connection and moment for me. But it also works and it can still give that message. And we turned it into this really upbeat, feel-good song.
Check it out.
Eyes Wide Open. It's one of my, it's still like every other day being played on the radio, and it made it across national radio stations, multiple stations put it on full rotation. And like, so to be able to achieve that, which is super cool, like giving the same message, but also creating this like radio hit.
In a digestible form.
And it's that digestible form, but it is also spewing that message. Maybe
perfection.
Spewing isn't the word, but like it's still giving and saying and getting the point across of my truth and my why. Which is, it's pretty amazing to think about it when, again, sick. I do, but it's always great to see the different perspective and be like, yeah, okay, cool. That is how I did it.
Yeah. See,
but like, you
don't always get to have these conversations of, you know, it's like you get caught up in the thing, really, especially as an artist. There's so much more. There's new music to put out. There's new shows to do.
Yeah, planning tour, writing, doing this, going to the studio. Like, there's so much going on, so you don't really get to dive into those thoughts.
And these are my favorite. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I started a podcast, because I'm just an inquisitive motherfucker, and I like to learn. You know, I get just as much out of these conversations, I think, than as the people listening. You know, it's like I like to dive into these topics because I'm curious. It's like, okay, this is how I see these things, but like, you know.
So going back to that question, I guess. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
But like, how do I find the balance?
Yeah.
It's like becoming very aware of what I consume. Going back to like outside of the music realm. I just was actually talking to Conch about this, and I've over the years finding that healthier path of exercise and music and experiencing the contrast between that and that type and style of living comparative to where I just came from the last 10 years of my life, which led me to almost death, which led my brother to death. I have lived it and I've seen it and felt it and understood where it goes. And then I started exercising every day. I put on 30 pounds of muscle in a year and ate healthy foods. I stopped eating fast food like I was, and just so many problems dissipated just from that, which again, so many people are in denial, but like everything you put in your body, everything you read, everything you look at, everything you feel affects you in so many ways, whether it's your food, whether it's your gut, whether it's the processed crap that we're eating this day and age, whether it's the negative content or the good content, whatever it is that you're looking at, it affects you. So I really honed in and realized that and saw the two different lifestyles. I was like, holy man, I feel way better now doing this. And I've, just everything about it. So, but you have to have balance or else it's not, we live in a world that is based off of all of the other things, like the food we eat and all, like the easy, accessible, the fast food, all that stuff. So I still eat it, but I created and live by the 80-20 rule.
Oh,
so there's 20% of the time I can enjoy all that crap. I can have those drinks. I can do that. But 80% of the time I am on that clean eating, healthier living, exercising, and just creating the healthy opportunities that lead to everything that I'm talking about now. It's all based on being healthier. And the opportunities that arise from that are healthier, are better, are more positive, because you attract what you are. You are what you eat, and you are what you emit, whatever energy and frequency that is. So so then going into the balancing of the musical side. I've spent so many years becoming this very authentic, I know who I am, and I say that proudly because I've been through the rough and scorched by the flames. It's actually a line in my new song. But
one that hasn't come out yet?
No, I just recorded it. But I've been there and I've done it, so I can say it. I am the best version of me that I've ever been, and the most authentic version of me that I've ever been. And when you sway away from that in the musical side of things, I immediately feel it. And I immediately feel it, whether it's right or wrong. I feel it, right? And I have to make a decision. Do I want to go there with this? Why am I going there with this? So a very wise man and very successful man, Mr. John Mayer, says it. And I mean, I don't quote me exactly word by word, but he says it in a podcast like this. And he goes, if you want to succeed in music business, you have to have all the pieces of pie. You have to write for yourself. You have to write for your label or whatever. You have to write for the radio. You have to write for the people. You have to write and really accomplish all the things for all the people, one way or another. Yeah. And I agree and disagree to a certain extent with that, but it makes me question and kind of think about where I'm going now with what, so I went and recorded that song, like I mentioned earlier, with Ryan Stewart in Vancouver. Right. And that is definitely more of a kind of cliche, feel good. There's some depth to it, but it's like we wrote it to be catchy and a radio song, right? And I'm super proud of it. And it was one of the first actual like co-writing sessions that I've done. Oh, sick. And it's just like, holy man, we just created a really amazing song. Oh, I'm hyped to hear it, bro. Is it as deep and like intertwined into my being and soul as any of my other stuff? Not even a little bit. But is it still really amazing art that can potentially further my career and show off my talents and skills that I've been honing in for 9 years now? It shows a lot of that, right? So would I record a whole album like that? I can't. And that's one of the biggest things I felt in that process was like, I easily could go write 20, 30, 40, hundreds of more of those. I believe I could easily go do that, especially writing with a man like that. But like, I wouldn't. I couldn't, right? Like it's not who I am, and I've been through too much. I'd rather just go work the trades, pull wrenches. Like maybe not rather, but like there's a reason why I'm doing it this way, and it's gonna, I assume, take a little longer, but it resonates and it hits people on levels that they weren't expecting, but they come and thank me, and it brings people to tears and goosebumps. Like that's what music is about. Yeah. That is why I'm here. Sure, I'll dabble over there 20%.
Yeah.
80% of the time, I'm over here writing from my heart, writing what makes me feel, writing and giving you the lessons that I've experienced and hopefully can translate to your life. You know,
Very cool.
That's how I balance it.
That's sick. Okay, that's beautiful. that a whole thing is beautiful. And then, just as a selfish question too, on my behalf, so then when you're going to, I love that explanation of you just 80-20 everything. Does that make its way into your set design as well? So it's like, how do you then structure your set list?
There's a few things for sure, but yeah, the same idea really. It's like depends on the show, first off. Like band when I'm solo. Band or solo, intimate vibes, festival, like you got to kind of play around the psychology of people in general, and
what like they're actually there for.
Why they're there, but then on top of it, like how do I get their attention? Yeah. So that's where I'll dabble. Like, you know, there's always a good reason to play a cover. A lot of people are like against it. It's not you, but it's like when you can put your spin on a song that people are familiar with, it's a good thing to do, right? Like you can, I covered and recorded my first in-studio recording last year as a solo, I guess. I did 2 covers now that I've recorded with, one with the band Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen.
Yeah. Leonard Cohen. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm almost needing to break the fast here.
Oh, okay.
But
that's good, bro.
But I covered Times Like These by the Foo Fighters. And I play that almost every show, and it's like I created this version though, and again, that's what I really believe in, is 20% of that song is Times Like These by the Foo Fighters, but 80% of that song is Eric Kane. It feels completely different. It's still the same lyrics, it's still the same chord progression, but I've brought my 80% of me into it, and it is like it's a completely new thing, right?
That's beautiful.
So to be able to play that now, and it still feels like it's almost my song, but everybody instantly knows it for the most part.
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of where I'm able to dabble into the covers, into the set. Cool. And then yeah, just creating this roller coaster. A big thing when I started playing music, and then prior to playing music, I love music. I've always went to shows. I've always went to concerts and festivals and know what I enjoy. And I enjoy when artists tell me why they wrote the song. It brings me deeper into the meaning. It brings me closer to it connects me with them on a level that I wouldn't have been connected. And it makes the song better if they, give some background and depth to it. So 100%. There's all these things that I've learned over the years, what I really enjoy as a spectator, a consumer, or a fan of music. So I try to incorporate that as an artist. How do they want this? Do they want a full set of sad songs? That is my specialty? Probably not, but sometimes, yeah. It depends on that intimate vibe. It depends on the reason I'm there. But yeah, I like to structure them in a sense of like a roller coaster and the emotion, right? Like,
very cool.
You bring in, start high, drop low, and just, ride the roller coaster and bring those moments and emotions into it all.
Wow. And I know you say you want to get your food in here.
Well, we got a little more time,
okay. But then that's what I'm saying. I got a couple other things that I want to ask you. And but before we get there, let's talk about the show real quick before we forget to promote it. May 3rd.
Horizon Stage Theater.
And why? Because you're doing a full band that night? Oh, it's sick.
Yeah, it's going to be the full band. Myself on vocals, guitar, O'Shane on the drums, LaShawn, new Mr. I believe his name was Nathan. I apologize if you're watching this, but he's going to be on the keys. And a good friend of mine, actually, Brandon,
Oh, sick.
which I met at Pigeon Lake Music Festival years ago. He was the videographer, but he also
I've
plays
actually
guitar.
been to that music festival.
It's a beautiful place.
It is.
Great festival, great people. But he actually recorded 2 of my music videos with the previous project, Kane Incognito. He did the Diagnose Me acoustic music video, and then he also filmed the big hit Eyes Wide Open music video. And incredible videographer, but he also has the love of music and
Sick.
his abilities on his own artistic levels. And we just had the conversation the one time I was over there. He's got his new kind of studio set up at his house, and I was like, why don't you play guitar for me? And he's like, okay, that would be amazing. So
Sick.
yeah, so he's going to be playing guitar, and then it's going to be a really, really amazing evening. I'm excited bringing in, some special guests, Mr. JusJrdn.
I haven't done a show. I stopped performing live for since
I know. I asked this guy multiple times over the last year
to say no to everything.
and I mean, no, I don't take any offense. I understand you do you. So I'm excited. I'm excited to finally share the stage. Like if you guys, anybody watching has followed that journey around that release, we did a bunch of, some fun videos recording out at around Edmonton and legislative grounds, and it was.
Bro, remember this? Remember when we got? So we park in this. We're trying to find a spot to park, and because we're gonna go shoot a bunch of content to promote the music, and Eric's like, "Yo, we'll go back here. We go." Do this weird. We're downtown, and we go down to this weird. And he's like, "Yeah, we'll just park here." And we're clearly not supposed to be back there. It's like there's like some workers on the far side. We're behind this building on this one-way path, and we park, and there's like no sidewalk or anything.
We had to hike up and out of there.
And so we hike up this hill. We shoot a bunch of dope content. We come back. We chat. We're getting, and we go to leave. And there's a gate that closed down.
It locked us in.
And me and him, it's him and it's me, and there's this gate, and you can't go backwards. We're on this hill. We can't go forwards. Eric fucking 4x4s around the gate, and I'm behind. And as he's doing that, the gate starts to open.
The guy opens the gate.
And
we just start laughing.
One of the funniest.
I totally forgot about that. The best part about it was like, without hesitation, I just like, okay, drive. There's a gate here. There's something in my way. How do I go around it? And it's like, I just drive over here. I drive up, and then as I'm doing it, Jordan's just laughing and looking at me as the gate's opening, basically at the same time. Oh, it was great.
Bro, what a
kind of had to be their moment.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, I'm dying in the car. I'm dying in the car behind him. It's so funny.
That is amazing.
God.
Good times.
That being said, where can they go get tickets to that show?
So if you hit up my Instagram, for sure, there is all the links in the bio. As cliche as that is to say, there's literally like 4 or 5 links in that bio. And Horizon Stage May 3rd, there is a link there. On top of, if you want to reach out, I may even leave some tickets here for JusJrdn. On top of, get a hold of me, DM me, and we can cut the online fees in half. And you can pick up some physical tickets if you're local to Edmonton.
Oh,
so
sick.
And it builds the connection. I love doing it. I just made a couple posts about this. Why do you deliver tickets still? We live on this online world when links exist and all that. And I'm just like, I don't. It's great. It's great to have both, but it's also great to see these people who are actually interested in purchasing tickets to come to this show that I've created, and like smiling, whether it's 2 minutes and saying thank you and a high five and a hug. And, some lady brought me like donuts and a coffee, and it's just like, it's so amazing, man. And then the other time I sat there with the family that have become from fans to legit friends and family, and sat there for like 2 hours talking about
amazing
life and what I've been up to, and vice versa, and showed them the new music, couple songs, and
sick.
It's just, it just builds this community, and that's what I'm here for, right? Like,
beautiful.
Rather than just numbers and dollars, it's like, we can build a connection, relationship of some sort, and it's amazing.
I know as a Me as both an artist and as a fan of art in general, I love because especially because we're musicians, we don't make anything that's tangible. It's like you write a song and it's really in the ethos. It's like it's just it's all of what a musician is energy, And
Yeah.
it's like so it's like I love when we can have things that are physical. Like, even
Right.
if it's
Yeah.
a poster for a show.
Right.
It's like it's cool. Yeah, I love the graphics and I've worked with some really cool graphic designers for I'm never trying to bash digital art. I'm a huge fan.
100%. There's a time and a place, obviously.
But it's like even when I get a real ticket from a show, I love it. And actually,
Puts a memory in a moment, right?
Yeah,
like
it's like,
it's like
okay,
even
this
buying
was
like a
real.
CD.
Yeah,
We don't really have CD players anymore, but like that purchase right there not only helps us artists, but it helps instill that moment,
Yeah.
right? Rather than just like digital photos and all that stuff, which yeah, they do, but those can be gone within,
Yeah.
So to have that like memorabilia that really all it is creating those moments and helping instill in the memory bank. So I completely agree with that.
I have a little box. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast. It's a really for me thing, but ever since I started performing years and years ago, I keep one physical thing from every show.
Cool.
So back in the day when I was doing like rap shows and you'd be one of 30 artists on the list,
Yeah.
That's how we start, and we do ciphers and you might do a rap, whatever, And I would always just steal the posters from the club after the show was done. I would just go and I'm like, all right, bro, this is the nicest one. It's mine. And I got wristbands and.
I used to do the lanyards.
Lanyards.
Especially
cool.
when back in the drumming No Heat Tomorrow days with my brother.
Sick.
I had just piles, all the festivals, all the lanyards.
That's cool.
That was like the first times I was playing those things, right? Those festivals. So it was just like, again, it's taking those rather than tossing them, just hanging them up and be like, it just bring me back every time I look at them. It's cool.
And so I guess even to touch on one more thing while we're in this realm of things. So we talked about how you used to feel going into shows, but now that you've changed, we've heard your story. Well, at least the beginning of your story. There's so much more to even dive into that I don't think we'll be able to get into today. But we talked about where you were, and especially from that first show when you're sitting behind stage and they're chanting your name and you're the drummer. But now you're a headlining act with your guitar, being what I would classify you as a very vulnerable artist, especially, coming from a hip hop background. It's like, I've seen lots of people perform, and a lot of those hip hop artists are not vulnerable, so it's like in my world, you're an extremely vulnerable artist, and which I think is cool, which is why I'm a fan. Now, how does it feel moments before going on stage?
Well, I was actually going to touch on it as well with the alcohol.
Oh,
You asked when I would drink with the drumming. I didn't think about it. I drank. I would have, 2, 3, 4, 5 beers before a show while I was playing, Then when I started performing and getting away from the weekends and the alcohol binging that I was doing, I was still relying on it a little bit when I was performing. Because all of a sudden I'm a front man, and that was the most intimidating thing. Like when I first started, it was one thing doing the song and sharing it, but then all of a sudden my brother passes, I share that song, and then I'm like, okay, we didn't really talk about where that went, right? So to be brief about it, I spent a year off and I ended up going traveling, and on my travels I like had clarity hit, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come back and I'm going to focus all of my energy on pursuing this music. And at that point, again, very timid, very shy, and very like closed off, but I knew that I had to be someone else and or to break through all of those barriers if I wanted to become this vision that I had in my head. So I started playing those shows. I started performing as the front headline man and spotlight on me, but I would use 2 to 3 beer before the show to ease those nerves. And then I started cutting the one beer down. And then it was like, okay, because in my head, I knew I was relying on those beer.
Oh, so you were aware of that?
At this point now, completely aware of what was happening.
Oh, wow.
Again, going through those years of all the crazy rewiring and growth around losing my brother and understanding what was happening and started actually listening to what was happening in my mind,
Wow.
I was now aware that I am using this alcohol to help me function.
Yeah. Okay.
And
wow.
I'm like, I don't want to rely on alcohol ever. I would like to have a beer here and there for the sake of enjoying a drink, but I don't want to rely on that. So I started weaning out. It would be like only 2 beer, only 1 beer. And then finally I'm like, I need to just be able to do it without any. So I started forcing myself no beer. And then got to the point where I understood what was going to happen with my nerves and how my body and mind would react. So I had to make sure I went into it with a full nutritional meal. And
so you eat before you go on stage?
100%. Within half hour, I got to put a full meal in my stomach.
Oh, it's like meat, veggies, carb,
fats, all the good stuff to keep me functioning and my brain firing properly. Because I've had, again, multiple times where I've hit kind of where I am now. And I've always had a really fast metabolism. When I was a kid, I'd get like hangry and like really irritable with low blood sugar, right?
Yeah.
And so I've worked on that and I was able to balance it out a bit. But now I just make sure it doesn't happen on stage, because I've had a couple times where I kind of like start getting spacey and like I got tested for like hypoglycemic and stuff, because I'm like, I swear something's going on, but just
tall and your body burns it.
I need to eat a lot of calories and I burn a lot of calories quickly. So I just got to make sure I'm well fed and I go into it and I know that I'm going to have some nerves going into the show. But it's even like coming to do this little podcast, right? Like there's a little bit of nerves, but as soon as I see you,
I always forget that people get nervous to do this.
Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's not like I got too much for this, but I mean, any type of social interactions for myself, I know that I stress out about it, and I always have. But I know as soon as I get to the place and where I'm going and the person I'm meeting and talking to, whether it's you or going to a big show, as soon as I start talking to the people that I'm there to talk to or just performing, it all goes away, and it's just this incredible like serenity. Like I just feel so accomplished because I fight those battles in my mind, and then I do what I love, and then even to the point of like now I'm doing what I love and I make money doing it, and I get to live and inspire, and it's just this really beautiful place. So yeah, it all started with that cutting those pre-drinks down. And I don't know what was the question. I may have got sidetracked a bit.
No, that was great. You explored everything, because it was just the contrast of how you feel before a show now versus then.
So yeah, now to the point of like, having a big headline show and people May 3rd coming to see me.
And actually, we do have quite a few listeners from Vancouver too. Actually, you said you're doing.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I'm actually, so this show is the big kickoff show for the Open Road Tour, and I'll be
like a
poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to the Instagram, I'm not sure, my website should have it updated, but
is it?
no. Well, that's the first show, but then if you scroll down, there should be a full tour poster. Yeah, click on that one. Oh, maybe I didn't even post just the poster, but that should be.
Oh, boom, right here.
So yeah, I'm playing Spruce Grove, kick off the show tour, and then Jasper, Kamloops, Horsefly, BC. I've never been there, but doing a little intimate
concert. I've never even heard of that.
I didn't either. So I'm doing a house concert there, and then up to Vancouver, May 12th.
Cool.
And then a couple dates have been added since this one. Squamish, BC, and then Kelowna, Brooks, Alberta, Calgary. I'm going to be playing Vermilion again. I actually loved that show. I love doing these little small town shows that a lot of the time don't get musicians coming. So a lot of people will show up, and or even the people that do show up, whether like last tour in the fall, I played in Langford, just outside of Victoria.
Okay.
And I had a couple fans that have been following me come, and then like 2 randoms. So I had like a total of 5 people in this cafe playing with me. Never been there in my life. The first time I've been to Victoria and Langford area, and I'm playing a show, my own show.
Sick.
And I have 5 people there. And at first it's just like, well, shit, I was hoping to get a few more people out, but at the same time, I gave every ounce of my love and vulnerable emotions to them. And by the end of it, it was just like, I was, this room full of 5, 6, 7 people total, the owners of the place. We were all it was just beautiful. So beautiful. Right. And, but yeah, so I don't know.
So make sure you get those tickets.
Yeah, Vancouver, May 12th.
Yeah,
I know
Vancouver.
I had a really good show there last fall. 60, 70 people came out. So this actually is a very intimate space as well, and there's only 28 tickets available. So
get it while it's hot.
link as well is in my bio on the Instagrams.
And I'll make sure to throw some links in the description and stuff to make everything easy.
Thank you.
Of course, bro. Very cool. You're doing a lot of dope. I can't wait to finally do our song together, bro.
Me too.
I feel like we could have talked for 3-4 hours.
Yeah, there's a lot of in betweens that we didn't talk about, but like what kind of questions do you have? What else did we
like? Just the experience of band. There's so much, bro. There's so.
Well, maybe
much.
we'll have to do a part 2.
Oh,
we'll come
sure.
back and start where we left off, which is kind of like the beginning of the Kane Incognito era.
Perfect. And we'll dive all into that. But before we leave, so you got the show coming up May 3rd. Get those tickets. It's gonna be crazy. I'm a fan. I know you're I've only interacted with your mom on social media because she'll share I see she
is my biggest fan and supporter, and we have it'll bring me to tears talking about it, man, but she is why I'm able to do one of the reasons why I've been able to get to where I am now with her help. And we've just we've helped each other a lot since we lost Keith. So
that's beautiful.
Big shout out to Mom.
I know that's always sick. I know my mom's my biggest fan, and I see her, doing the same thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's special. Not everyone gets that. So it's like, I feel lucky, and I was just like, I had to bring it up on the podcast because I was like, oh, I see that, and I was like, that's mom's for the W, that's mom's
100%.
Yeah, we didn't even get into. There's so much to talk about because
let's just see the questions, and then we'll maybe people watching will be like, okay, I can't wait to see part 2 there.
Because one of my
how long are we into this right now? Anyway,
we're right now hour 35.
Okay,
which is pretty good, bro.
Yeah,
it goes by quick, hey.
For sure.
That's why I started a podcast. I just I like talking. I like hearing other people talk.
It's great.
But especially from the artist, what I did this morning actually was I went and I listened through all your music again.
Awesome.
While I did some cardio. I mean, I listened already. I mean, one of my favorite songs from you, which is why I was so hyped to be on the remix of it, is Slow Down. I genuinely fucking love that song. So when I got to be on the remix, I was super hyped.
Yeah, man. I feel like you nailed it. And I feel like why I asked you again is that first because literally prior I had only met you once, which was at that Jubilee show with Martin Kerr.
Shout out
Martin Kerr, yeah. And I just kind of knew that you were supposed to be on that song.
Hey,
whatever you want to say about that, but you nailed it, and it's great. I'm excited to perform it live.
Hey,
for
it
sure.
will be fun. But I know I've been so I went through. I think my favorite track from you is Destiny, and the piano version of it is. I just heard it actually today. Was the first time I heard it.
It's pretty wild, hey?
I was like, oh, I love piano, bro. That's my fucking.
It's when I recorded that. Destiny is definitely one of the favored songs for sure.
Your vocals on it are crazy.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so when I recorded Destiny in studio, it was again. There's so many. I have a very vivid memory, as you've already said. But like, my Destiny was written around my friend who took his life.
Oh, damn!
I
your
think it was
songs are so heavy,
of like
bro.
2021. I think it was when he took his life, or 2022 maybe, but no, 2021 or 2020. Either way, I got the news, and the first thing I did was just started writing on how I was feeling, and
Wow.
within like 20 minutes, the first verse to chorus was done. And I was
Damn.
like, holy, and I shared that as well, and I posted that. And again, it's like I do it to like it's just now how I've learned to. It's therapy, really. Like it's put the paper and the mind down, or mind down on paper, and yeah, it's definitely therapeutic. But I shared it, and it got a lot of love, and I wrote it at this. I think Kane Incognito in my previous band we were still a thing, and then I didn't go near the song, didn't sing it, I didn't work on it until ended up going solo, and then a full year had passed from the date that I originally wrote it, and I knew that was the first song I was going to write or finish writing and record when I would go into the studio to record my debut EP as Eric Kane.
Damn.
Which I recorded with Josh the Hunter. Shout out Josh.
Shout out Josh, bro. Who's also killing it right now.
Yeah, incredibly
I talked about it actually on one of the podcasts.
nice. Yeah, inspiring to say the least, Josh.
Oh, for sure.
But so I knew that was the song I had to start with, but I hadn't finished it yet. So I revisited the song 1 year to when I first wrote it, finished the verse and the chorus, or verse 2 and the bridge and stuff, finished the song, went in, recorded it with Josh, and just was like really proud of it. It's definitely been the most like hit home for off that EP, that and Sunsets and Silhouettes as well. But so then to go back to the Destiny piano version, there was another crazy timeline. It was like another year went by, and we started working on the piano version in the studio. Eric Mortimer, I believe is how you say his name.
Oh, I know exactly.
He played at the Jubilee. I also met him that time with Martin Kershaw.
Super talented.
Incredibly talented, amazing human. He wrote the piano with me, so I kind of worked with him to build the structure of the piano and the building and the progressively getting more.
Oh, sick.
But when we were in the studio with Phil Rhoda recording that piano,
all the homies.
It was like the frickin' anniversary to my buddy who passed death when we were in the studio, and I didn't even realize till someone messaged me, and I posted the video of the piano version being written and recorded, and someone's like, yeah, I saw on social media or something, and it was like, holy crap, no idea. And all of a sudden I was doing that song on that same day. So it was like these 1 year to the days. It was crazy. But when I recorded those vocals for that piano version, it hit home on a whole other level for me emotionally. Like, and I think you can feel it in the vocals. It's
unreal.
I've listened to it a bunch of times, and it gives me goosebumps when I hear it. And it just, I'm really proud of it. And it's like, I didn't do enough marketing around it for sure. And that's at the end of the day, you can say as an artist, it's like, oh, the song didn't get what it deserved. It's like, well, I didn't give it the time and the push that it deserves. And one day I probably will. I believe it's a timeless song that one day will be, I hope anyways, will get into the ears of a lot of people that need that. So,
and then to totally contrast that with your newest song that came out, Do What You Gotta Do.
Right.
That was again, this was one I haven't heard until just this morning either.
Right.
And I was like, oh, interesting.
This one's like definitely like a one-off a bit. I love it. It's again a huge kind of crazy story that all flowed into place to get me there. But that was the official first co-writing that I've ever done, was with Conch and Ricardo.
Okay.
A little backstory behind it was so over COVID I did a lot of these street concerts and backyard shows. coming out of it, they slowed down. Obviously, the venues started opening up. But it wasn't last summer, but the summer before, I suppose. A good friend of mine who was like my high school sweetheart, actually.
Oh, okay.
My grad date to like high school and everything.
Oh,
She ended up messaging me, which we've been friends and stayed in contact over the years. She asked if I could or was wanting to do a birthday party on this certain date. And it was like in between a bunch of shows I had. And I had this like 2 days off that I didn't really have anything planned. And I was like, actually, it was within a week. She's like, are you able to play this Saturday? And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. So I ended up going. She connects me with her cousin who was hosting this birthday party out on their farm, which ended up being like literally 2 minutes away from where my sister lives.
Oh,
so I was
shit.
very familiar with the area. And then as it all was planned, I was told it was going to be filmed on a TV show a docu-series called Push. And the
I think I
birthday
saw all
party,
of this. Oh, yeah.
the birthday party was for Brian, who I'm actually going to deliver tickets to right after this interview.
Oh, shout out
podcast.
Brian.
Hey, Brian. And
If any of these people even will listen.
yeah, they'll listen. But so I have figured out that I'm going to be potentially videoed and filmed for this show. They're filming an episode basically. And how it all works is they film for like a whole season and then they don't really know what they're going to put into the show as they explain. So it wasn't a for sure thing that I was going to be on the TV show, but there was a possibility that they're going to film me and my song or something that I sing maybe in this TV show. And it was like,
Sick.
man, this is really cool. This is ending up being, because I said yes,
Yeah.
more opportunities and more beautiful things and more beautiful connections just came. And, next thing you know, I'm performing. It's like this surprise birthday party. It was super amazing. Brian actually was a big fan and is still, but a big fan of my previous project, Kane Incognito. Loved Eyes
Sick.
Wide Open. So he was
Sick.
like this, already a fan, and that's why they kind of brought me out there to play. And he's like, what the hell? He's got Eric Kane playing at my birthday. And then they ended up using a part of Slow Down that I was playing at the show live. And then they used
Great song.
clip of the studio version in the show. So I like made this cameo
Sick.
performing it. They filmed me playing it in the show. Then as I'm playing it, they're like cut scenes of things happening as I'm singing. And then they use my song, the instrumental part of Slow Down, the studio version, and continually carry it on throughout the show. Really cool. My first kind of sync opportunity in TV,
Amazing.
national TV kind of.
Which is huge as an artist. Huge.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It's a cool.
And again, yes, I said yes, and all of those things just kind of snowballed because I said yes, right? And so anyways, the talent agent, Katie, her name is, incredible human being, watched me perform, and she had just kind of created this agency around people in wheelchairs and disabled people. And she's like, man, I really loved your set, and I wish I could help you, but I can't really help you. And we were kind of like talking, and she's like, I have an idea. Ricardo, who's another person that I didn't actually meet at that show. I believe he was in Italy at the time, but he's from Italy, and he's this incredibly talented pianist from Italy, who lives now in Edmonton, who's also on the show in a wheelchair, unfortunately. And
Shout out Ricardo.
And he had got a grant from Edmonton Arts Council to record a song, and he partnered because Katie knew Conch somehow.
Shout out Conch also.
Conch, Katie, Ricardo.
Damn, lots of
And
them,
she goes, maybe you could, do you know Conch? And I'm like, I don't really know him. I know of him. We've kind of shot messages on Instagram or social media, but I haven't really actually met him. But she's like, would you be interested in potentially joining and writing a song with Ricardo and Conch? And I said, I would love to do that. So I ended up going to the studio, met Ricardo and Conch. They had already kind of started writing a song, but we started completely fresh and just kind of had the discussion of like what we were writing it around, like Ricardo's experience. And that's where his own words is, I just had to, because he woke up with one day, basically I forget what, and sorry if you're watching, Ricardo, exactly happened, but he basically woke up and was paralyzed pretty much.
Wow.
And so again,
Oof.
this, the trials and tribulations you're going to have to go through with something like that, it just, I couldn't imagine, right? So through his words though, he had to do what he had to do, right? You got to do what you got to do, and you just got to keep moving forward. And that's kind of where that idea of the song came from. And then
Cool.
we wrote that song in the studio, and then we released it, and they're actually also performing it with me at the show too. So
Oh, see, and this is why it's awesome to be a fan. Because as much as I'm excited to to come do the track, I'm excited to watch the show.
yeah, it'll be
You
good,
know,
man.
wow. And see, and this is why I'm always so interested in knowing how things are made.
Yeah,
Because it's like
there's so much more to it than just that.
and you
that's
know,
sitting there, right?
and
Like,
so I was like, I'm listening to this track this morning, and I rock, so I throw weights on sometimes, and I'm grinding. And most of your other songs are very like sparse.
Yeah,
It's like there's
space and
not in a bad way.
Yeah.
But that song comes. I'm listening to your track after track, and then this one comes on. I was like, oh, where are we going? I
Yeah.
was so like, okay, let me see. Because Conch, I'm so familiar with. I have verses on other people's songs but I do all my recordings and stuff at my own crib.
Yeah.
So it's like I've worked with Conch,
yeah,
but
he's-
I've never really a super talented dude.
Yeah.
And I see all of his stuff. I follow him on socials and stuff, but I've never actually met him.
crazy. Yeah.
So
That was the same kind of thing until I went and did this.
that's so wild. See, it's so cool to hear about how things are made, dog.
Which led to now I'm recording my EP with him and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
that is so,
What
okay,
literally the one yes
to all that.
to going and performing at this birthday when I technically was originally wanting those days off, but the opportunity is like, why wouldn't I go do this amazing thing?
That's
and,
beautiful,
like,
bro.
It just, I'm on a TV show and met all these new people and recorded this song with these guys, and now they're amazing, and Conch is amazing. So now I'm recording my EP with him. Like, so much just stemmed from that one decision, right? Like, it's beautiful.
Time after time again, bro. It's saying yes. If I've gotten one thing from this conversation with you, it's saying yes, and then but not only saying yes, but then giving it your all.
Acting on it.
It's not just saying yes and being like, oh, I gotta go do this thing. I guess I'll fucking learn how to play the drums.
No, I get it.
It's like, no, it's like, yes. Okay, fucking what do I gotta do now? What do I gotta do now that I said yes?
Yeah.
And it time after time, that just seems to be the story with you, completely oversimplified.
Yeah.
But
that's amazing.
To kind of start to wrap things up, there's a couple things I ask everyone kind of one question at the end, and it's, what do you want to tell everybody? If you had, what's the one thing you want to tell everybody? But before we get to that last point, right now, as we talked about, you're on that tour, or you're about to go on that tour.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of shows coming out, so make sure you check that out. But you also say you're working on this EP. Is it still really on the wraps, or do you have kind of like is it coming out? Should we expect it in the coming months?
I mean,
or
it's definitely still in the process. I spent the big financial game in the battle that, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of, but like transitioning from being in a band to solo.
It's a lot more expensive.
4 wallets turned into one. And I realized that quickly. And I didn't really realize, like, the last couple years prior to this year of now I need to record, I should have been kind of planning a little better, but I was not really stressed financially. But as crazy as it sounds and is, the economy right now is not doing the greatest. And as a lot of people, I would assume, are feeling it. And it kind of sucks because it's every dollar is really accounted for right now when I'm trying to live and keep the ball rolling with the music and not having much support from grants and stuff at this point, which I'm really, fingers crossed on getting a few of those. So yeah, it's definitely been the hurdles and struggles, but it's the same thing. It's like, okay, this is what's up. What do I got to do, and how do I do it? It's taken a little longer than I want.
Of course.
but it's happening. So I can't really give time frames. I
But
have a
it's
few that
coming.
are like, yeah, I'm hoping to have some new stuff out by like fall.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
So,
Right on.
but I mean, I just released a song in to kind of keep things moving a bit. I did record some acoustic versions of songs that I had recorded off the EP, Unforgettable Moments EP. So I just released, actually that's a lie, I'm releasing tomorrow.
Oh, coming out.
Tomorrow, the Sunsets and Silhouettes acoustic version, which I'm actually really excited
Which will be today if you're listening. So go check right after you heard
right,
it here.
I guess it depends when this comes out.
This will
But
come out first thing tomorrow morning. So it will be live. As you say, it's coming out on
literally whatever day is today, Tuesday?
today is Tuesday.
Yeah, so tomorrow.
All right. So check it out right now. I'll make sure again. I'll put a bunch of links in the descriptions on Spotify and on YouTube.
If you like sunsets, if you like road trips, that's the song. It's like a summer camping outdoors, make you want to go outside and feel it, you know?
Oh, hell yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
That's how you know this guy's been pitching music for a minute. That was beautifully done. Expertise level, bro. So that's super fun. New music coming. Check out his old music. Check out the track that we got together, Slow Down. Check out the original too. It's also amazing. Get those tickets. Go to him. Again, I'll put his Instagram in the bio as well. Go check him out. Go give him a follow. I think that's everything from like promotion standpoint, unless there's something. But then yeah, so thanks for coming through, bro. But one of the last thing I kind of like to end off on is if you could say one thing to the world, what would it be? I know it's kind of a big question.
It is, but I think the first thing that just hits me is in life, there's always going to be circumstances, tragedies that we cannot control. But what we can control is how we perceive them. There's always love. There's always hate to any situation. Any situation. What do you choose?
Oh,
That's it. That's how I live my life, and it's been flourishing since that moment of tragedy and the choice of choosing love around it all.
that's so beautiful, so simple, yet the most complicated thing ever.
Right?
You know? Oh my God, bro. Well,
Thank you for having me.
bro, thank you so much for this. We could go all day.
We'll be back. I think there's part 2s in the works for sure. I think
so too. And you know, I brought some artists on before, and you know, anytime you want to come on, let me know. We'll schedule it in. But maybe even when you got a new track coming out or something, come through, and then we can sit down and dissect it.
Yeah,
You
that'd
know,
be cool.
I love
Nice.
doing that shit. You know how things are made. Let's
Totally.
go through this.
It's a good idea.
I love
Let's
it,
do
bro. Thank you so much for coming through. Make
Thanks
sure
for
you check
watching.
out Eric Kane on everything. Again, I have links in everything. And then make sure to come check us out May 3rd. It's going to be a good time.
And then May 12th, if there's a following in Vancouver.
There
May
is.
12th in Vancouver, follow the links.
Thank you.
And limited spots, again, 28 to be exact.
Let's go. Get it.
I think
while
a few of those are sold. So
Woo, let's go. It's worth it. It's worth it to go see this man anytime that you can. One of my favorite artists from here for sure. Thanks for coming through, brother. More
you.
love, more success. I hope you have a beautiful week. This has been A Moment with Jay.